Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brock Beckett, and today I will be reviewing Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Now, this book is unlike almost any other book you will read. This book is about a man named Billy, and he's a soldier, and he's essentially suffering from a form of PTSD to where he is essentially reliving his life out of order. So he'll all of a sudden he'll be a little kid, then he'll be an adult, then he'll be a grown man, then he'll be preteen. He basically goes through all of his life out of order. And it happens frequently. Like in one page, you might go to three different time periods. And that is a very unique sort of storytelling. And personally, I've never read a book like this. And I can see it being very polarizing because I know a lot of people probably read this book and feel like it's too much to keep track of. It's too much going on. It's hard for them to really understand and even get a grasp of what's happening. But me personally, this book was right up my alley. I mean, and the reasons being is because one of the biggest problems I have with certain books is that you end up getting bored in a specific setting, like and art and authors will go at length to describe certain settings, and if the setting itself isn't appealing to me and it's not something that I am enjoying, I'll just be checked out. I wouldn't enjoy it as much. Whereas this book, that never happens. Not once in this book was I bored. This book hooked me from the word go. It hooked me from the first two, 3 pages all the way to the very end. And there's something to be said about that. Now, what is this book really about? Well, it's about the life of Billy, and it's about his time in the army, being a prisoner of war. Um, there's multiple timelines, but basically, let me explain the basic timelines. There's the timelines of him being a prisoner of war and experience with that. There's this timeline of him being an optometrist and basically him slowly losing his mind to where he's hospitalized and his family has to take care of him. And then there's the timeline of aliens. There's an alien timeline where, and when I say timeline, I just mean period in his life that he jumps between. There's an alien timeline where he gets kidnapped by aliens. And there's there's many other timelines that come in and there's a lot that happens, but I'd say those are the three main ones that it kind of flips between, but it can go anywhere. And that's just the type of book this is. It goes anywhere and everywhere. And when I think about what this book is trying to say and the messaging behind this book, can't help but feel like I have to almost read it again because there's so much that happens. One part of the book that I do believe is profound is the aliens that Billy meets with. And these aliens, I believe, to be profound because of the way they interact with Billy and how they explain humanity and what life is like. Basically, these aliens, they see everything, they see eternity. Each person they look at, each situation, they look at it as an eternity. And what do I mean by that? Well, they don't see death the way we do. We see death as okay, you're dead, it's over with. They see death as okay, you're dead, but you still existed in the past, so you still exist. They see the past and the future concurrently, if that makes any sense. And I think that as well as I like the description of the aliens when he gets captured and he's put in a display case for the aliens to view. I like the description of when the aliens they cover their eyes whenever they feel like Billy's doing something stupid, and basically the aliens they're smarter than Billy is, and whenever the aliens see he's doing something stupid, they close their eyes. I just thought that was a really fun imagery that I could just vividly see in my mind. Just all these aliens almost like with secondhand embarrassment, closing their eyes because of something Billy did or said. And I think that was cool. Something that's interesting about this book is just the way it uses characters. Um, there isn't a traditional villain per se in this book, but there are, like, I'd say two main villain like characters that he kind of he kind of builds them up. He kind of makes you not like them, but then they don't really go anywhere with it. The first one was an army dude. He's a real despicable character. He's a guy in the army, and basically he was talking about like, yeah, one time a dog, it bit me. So he decided to feed the dog steaks with like needles in the steak, so then the dog would die. And he's like, "Yeah, that'll teach a dog to mess with me." Like, dude, you're an asshole. But that was a character he created, and he even goes as far as to have this character threaten the main character's life, saying, "Look, you won't know it, but sometime later on, someone's gonna just run up on you and kill you, basically." And he set up to almost be the main anti, or not the main, but like a key antagonist within the story. And then this is kind of towards the first kind of half of the book. So I'm like, okay, this guy's getting developed. Maybe he'll be the main antagonist. Billy Billy will go back and forth with him, but towards halfway through the book, he's kind of not really mentioned again. And then I'm like, okay, all right. And then the other antagonist is this guy he meets in the hospital when he's suffering mentally, and his family puts him in the hospital. It's a guy who's in the hospital with him, and he's a 70-year-old dude. Um, uh, he's dating this 23-year-old chick, which, I mean, that's not a reason to be a villain, but it's just descriptive. And basically, he is like, he kind of writes off Billy as just being insane, and Billy is, and they even go on to talk about how this guy, he feels like, oh, people don't deserve to live, like typical villain ideologies. Um, and I'm like, all right, they're kind of setting this guy up. I wonder where it's gonna go. Doesn't really go anywhere, they just kind of set it up. It is what it is. And I mean, it's like I'm trying to think why they would make a point to set these characters up, but at the same time, at the end of the day, this book is, you can't even look at it as a traditional book. You have to look at it as essentially a roller coaster. You know what I mean? This book is a literal roller coaster, and when you're on a roller coaster, you can't try to really make sense of what's going on. You can't try to pick up pieces of this. Oh, this mean this. No, when you're on a roller coaster, you just put your hands up and you enjoy the ride. And this was a heck of a ride. Out of 5 stars, I'll give this 4.5 stars. I mean, it's a good book. It's a good book. It's not for everybody because of how the story is delivered, but it is an entertaining book that if you just accept that, okay, you're not going to understand why things are happening in the order that they are, they're just happening. If you can just almost turn your brain off, and I know that seems weird to say reading a book, because you always want to have, but like turn your brain off in the sense that you just go along with the story and not try to think of it as a traditional story. Just accept, read the words on the pages, and then by the end of it, you'll find you've had a good time. So that is my review of Slaughterhouse-Five. I recommend it. Thank you for watching.